And before we start our match here,
Antes de empezar, ¿qué?
two trainers, do have a note for everybody watching along at home that due to circumstances, this match was actually pre-recorded earlier today. We do not know the outcome. We're casting on the up and up. Gonna have fun. We're gonna need the help of everyone in the audience.
Acaba de
as well
decir
here to get
que el combate ya se ha hecho y grabado de
antes.
antes.
A really fun time, but just wanted to give that on front that we're gonna cast this match with a pre-recorded note, just so everybody knows.
Que van a castearlo, pero ya está ¿Cómo?
I should say, Scott, we are going to toss to a video about this matchup, so it's going to be exciting. Please enjoy.
¿Qué cojones? Bueno, míralo. Mira mi Poké Alex. Dale, mi niño. ¿Cómo que está pregrabado?
This tournament, my main strategy has been using Rain. I have Palafin and Pelipper, and together their damage is really high, so it's usually trying to position Palafin in a way to do as much damage as possible.
I've been playing Dondoso Team Blue, and my strategy basically is to trap the opponent and then do some damage with my
Buenísima ese Spanish English.
Chumpao Dragapult could help me win in the finals.
No me jodas.
It's a really strong strategy. It does a lot of damage.
Le voy a preguntar por WhatsApp si ha ganado.
To beat it.
Approaching the final match is going to be tough because I'm going against a friend and one of the best players of all time.
Supongo que no podrá decirlo por contrato, pero.
Definitely going to look at his team.
Hostia, no tengo su WhatsApp. No me lo puedo creer.
No tengo su WhatsApp. Mix it up and make him uncomfortable.
Mierda.
I still don't know what team is he using, so I need to take a look at his team. But Ragab is a really strong player, so it's going to be scary. But I think there's a chance I can do it. I haven't won a tournament since 2016, so I would love to win a tournament again because I kind of struggled with the results in the past. So yeah, it would mean a lot.
Winning this event would mean a lot. I've been playing since I was about 14, so this has kind of been a dream to win nationals and then win the world championships. So winning this, especially against a friend, would mean a lot.
Let's get ready for your 2023 Pokemon North America.
Pero entonces no van a salir ahí. Vaya puta mierda de final.
Masters Final. Even though they can't be with us here on stage, we want to give a huge shout out and a big round of applause for each of our players. So, first, let's hear it for representing India, Raghav Malavia.
¿Pero qué es esta mierda?
And representing Spain, Alex Gomez Berna.
¡Vamos! ¡Mi España! ¡Vamos, Alex!
Let's watch this match, casters.
All right, thank you very much, Anna, and great job
what the
by
fuck?
crowd rooting on both of these trainers. We know
¿Qué es esta
it's
mierda?
a very exciting match, Scott. I am curious. This is Raghav's third international top cut.
O sea,
his third time in
la
the charm.
final más importante. Ha sido grabada antes porque Alex tenía que irse a coger un vuelo y no podía cambiarlo. Me parece ultra mega cutre, tío.
I was kind of shocked at the video to see that Alex hadn't won a tournament since 2016. If someone else had told me that fact, I'm like, that can't be true. But yeah, coming from the player himself, you know, I like the odds. That is an accurate statement, but it's just hard to believe, right? He's been so good for so long, and I think.
Porque claro, Pokémon no tiene dinero suficiente como para comprarle un billete de vuelo más tarde a uno de sus finalistas, ¿verdad? Y la solución que le dan es un pues lo grabamos y luego lo emitimos. Tampoco te rayes, tampoco es tan importante. Me estás vacilando.
Kind of the lower bracket run, if you think about it, in the top 8 making it to the final. But eventually, we're going to leave this match with just one trainer remaining. So let's hit play and let's get into our Masters final match with Raghav Malavia and Alex Gomez Berna. Scott, it's Palafin, it's Dondoso. Let's talk again about Raghav's team with that Palafin, Fluttermane, Amoonguss, Arcanine, Iron Hands, and the Pelipper to set up the rain.
Yeah, the Palafin archetype has kind of fallen out of favor, but we've seen how powerful it is over the course of the year. And I think it's a good way to use these 6 Pokemon. It kind of optimizes the potential power of the Palafin team. You have the Pelipper-Palafin combination there with the Rain thing, and then the 3 most common Pokemon in Day 2, plus Arcanine and Intimidate Pokemon, right? I think it's a really smart way to compose a team. When you're playing against the very best opponents, you want to have the very best Pokemon.
¿Qué le cuesta a The Pokémon Company Estados Unidos? Un billete de avión. Y una noche de hotel más.
Going to need it against Alex's team, as there is another very potent water Pokemon on that side, and that would be the Dondozo.
Ahí está, Pokédex. Contra Apult.
Dragapult, Fluttermane, Jinpao, Iron Hands, and Tinglu.
Yeah, I think,
Andy Disperger, muchas gracias por el Prime, tío.
Sort of a story of 2 extremes, right? We often see him lead
Muchas gracias por el
battles
sub.
off with the combination of Dondozo and Tinglu, kind of play slowly for a while, and then bring in some of his more offensively dangerous but frailer Pokemon to kind of clean up the game. That Dragapult has looked very cool on stream. Not a Pokemon we see a lot of trainers use. And kind of impressive Pokemon to win with, right? Fluttermane used at such a high rate, has a great type matchup at least against the Dragapult, but despite Fluttermane being by far the most common Pokemon, Dragapult finds itself
No sé los resultados. Le pregunta a Casti, dudo mucho que pueda decirme nada. Aún así vamos a ver el combate, pero me parece surrealista esto.
That Dragapult really is hit or miss, Scott. Sometimes we've seen it on stream. Choice Band and a combination of Qianpao working with it to lower the opposing Pokemon's defense stat. If you're not prepared for it, can just be massive amounts of damage.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun, right? Where there's sort of a high volatility to the back Pokemon on Alex's team, where they can dish out so much damage, but also there's such weak defensive stats that he has to play really carefully. And I think we saw a handful of teams in the top cut who kind of had that sort of strategy, but these players are just so good. They kind of like never seem to take that mistake that get them taken out of a game.
I also love that the Palafin on Ragav's team is Terra Grass, where it seems like
yo creo que le habrán hecho firmar un contrato de confidencialidad. No creo que puedan decir nada, sino.
But Ragav really appreciating the survivability of Terra Grass, as well as not being hurt by Amoonguss.
La gente que fue a verlo, pues se comen la polla. Con una foto, es que hay que ser cutre Pokémon, de verdad. Hay que ser cutre Pokémon Company, de verdad. Es increíble, tío. Qué triste, tío. O sea, literalmente es como si cojo y hago esto.
It's a nice dragon.
Esto es surrealista, ¿eh?
Regardless, that really appreciates Qianpao's ability, Sword of Ruin, lowering all the other Pokemon's defense by 1 stage on the field. Arcanine does look kind of solid into the other side with the Ice type.
Yeah, I mean, 2 Pokemon here who don't want to be burned, and yeah, Qianpao, I mean, you don't really need to burn it, right? Because any 2 attacks, and you're just going to get it right off the field that way. But also, a dangerous spot for this Amoonguss to find itself in as well, right? You're facing down Qianpao and the threat of those Ice-type attacks, and Dragapult going to be able to do a decent amount of damage to either of these Pokemon if Alex feels like it's safe to leave it out in the field.
¿Quién ganará?
Not leading Palafin in this matchup. You don't
¿Quién ganará la gran final?
Pokemon on the field already to try to start activating its hero form later. So maybe with only the 1 spot left, Ragav
¿Quién ganará la gran final?
In this game 1. So the Iron Hands will switch into the Arcanine slot as Dragapult is going to Terrasilize.
Tierra fantasma para reventar terrible como la sombra. Ese Dragapult lo llevaba yo en Liverpool, creando tendencia para Pokédex. Terrablast, eso no lo llevaba yo. Esto va a reventar como Dios, Qué bien poder ver las reacciones de Pokédex a cuando le ha dejado 2 FPS,
Here is the Ice Spinner follow-up as well from the Qianpao.
Y a chuparla.
So the double target means
Fuera
the
Amoonguss.
doesn't matter too much there. And the Iron Hands gets in for free, but Amoonguss is down.
Yeah, a fantastic first turn right there. And what amazing damage for that Dragapult. Often even super effective damage doesn't do nearly that much to Amoonguss, one of the sturdiest Pokemon in this format. And Ragav's kind of in a tough spot here now, right? We see that Arcanine, Amoonguss, and Iron Hands is the first 3 Pokemon he brought out here. We often see them playing very defensively, switching around, immediately losing a member member of that trio really changes the way you can play a team like this. You don't want to give up Pokemon early, and usually that's the strength of this comp. So I think even considering the 4-3 lead, it might mean even more than it looks like in this particular situation.
Yeah, and as long as Alex has his Chien-Pao with the Focus Sash intact, it's very difficult. And even if it's not able to attack, say you go for protects or just trying to stay on the field, the Sword of Ruin is almost more important than the actual damage that Chien-Pao can provide.
Yeah, I mean, the Dragon Ball's still looking really scary there, right? All that pressure out in the field. Again, we saw how much it did to that Amoonguss. These are two Pokemon that are used to kind of not taking a whole lot of damage for most neutral attacks.
Me ha contestado Casti, dice que teníamos el vuelo. La han jugado hoy a las 9, hora americana, y la han grabado. No me ha dicho nada más.
Switching into the Chien-Pao position, so remember that ability is no longer active. They're going to be taking regular amounts of damage from the Dragon Bolt. This Terra Blast, though, goes into Arcanine's Protect, keeping it very safe for Ragav. Iron Hands is with a Wild Charge into Dragon Bolt, and that does do over half of Dragon Bolt's HP.
Yeah, losing that resistance to electric-type attacks it would have while it was a Dragon-type Pokemon, although certainly the trade-off of being Ghost-type has felt worth it on the damage side. Nice Protect there, too. He's in a tough spot, but negating an attack from that powerful Dragon Bolt's a big deal. Now he probably only needs to hit one more time, pick up that knockout, maybe he can get himself back in this game.
And the Iron Hands on Alex's side, since it did just swap in on this turn.
El audio, ¿qué pasa con el audio?
Its fake out right now.
Es verdad, está mal.
Obviously, so this fake out would last right now. Alex
no soy yo,
back in.
Yo también lo digo mal,
The defenses, so does not want to go for a fake out. Wants to go.
Vamos, la que faltaba. Actualizo la página.
Those intimidates meant nothing because of its clear body ability. So this is a full
Como está pregrabado, el audio va mal. ¡Qué buenísima! Bien, Oscar Broque Alex.
Yeah, Dragon Ball is just absolutely massive with the Choice Band and Sword of Ruin combination. It will be knocked out in retaliation by the Iron Hands, but Ragav is still down to his last two Pokemon.
Yeah, I think if you're Alex, you're super happy with the Dragon Bolt there. I mean,
jugadón de Oscar,
but those are two big knockouts. You get to see Ragav's last Pokemon now. You can kind of plan out the end of the game. And not only Chien-Pao get back out in the field to help out with that Sword of Ruin to increase the damage.
Pues está ganado por Poké Alex este primer game,
And doesn't have to worry about being intimidated anymore with Arcanine having been defeated.
Yeah, and now the booster energy will activate on Alex's Flutter Mane, making it a little bit stronger than the opposing one.
Yeah, so I mean, the Iron Hands now perhaps going to have to terrestrialize, facing down a Fairy-type Pokemon. And with Flutter Mane in this situation, both of the opposing Pokemon, both the Flutter Mane and the Chien-Pao on the other side, can take care of it pretty quickly. But the Iron Hands has to be careful too, right? If it terrestrializes into be a Grass type, that suddenly has a negative type matchup with the Chien-Pao instead of the Flutter Mane.
Flutter Mane on Alex's side goes for the
dropea el ataque especial, no lo dropea.
The double up with Ice
Doble golpe.
as well will be enough
Fuera
to take
Flutter.
it down. So it is Iron
GG Poké Alex.
Pokemon on Alex's
GG's Poké Alex.
This one back in game one. Drain Punch is going to help it recover a lot of that
Sash.
HP it lost from the wild charges, but of course, because of Chien-Pao's Focus Sash, it will stick around on the field at 1 HP.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a little bit of healing, right? Maybe if you're on Ragav's side, you actually prefer to pick up that Drain Punch later and maybe restore a little bit more health, because this is a tough spot now, right? He's going to have to take a super effective attack. Ragav gets to pick which one based on whether he terrestrializes or not, but this is a pretty tricky situation.
Yeah, Alex has Ragav pinned in this spot. You stay a fighting type, you're weak to Moonblast. You turn into a grass type, now you're weak to Ice Spinner. The terrestrialization is used here on the Iron Hands to go into the grass typing. Will this be enough? Maybe thinking Flutter Mane's damage output is a little more important to deal with. That Moonblast does not do a lot. Let's see how Ice Spinner on the follow-up will do into the Iron Hands. It survives at 18 health with the Drain Punch.
¡Qué grande!
Not recover anything on that
Nada, ganando como siempre.
Yeah, making it 19 here with that Drain Punch, but hard to imagine it's going to be able to survive any attacks from this Flutter Mane.
Yeah, of course, Flutter Mane is going to be faster than it anyway.
Ganando como siempre.
So low at this point. Alex definitely feeling comfortable with the Iron Hands on his side as well.
GG's, qué grande Poké Alex. Qué grande soy.
Doesn't want to catch those Iron Hands, going to lock in the forfeit here, and it's a really impressive first game by Alex.
GG's, 1-0.
Some of the defensive options at Alex's team, but instead it was the offensive options. He just played so quickly. He picked up a couple of early knockouts that kind of just prevented Ragav from playing the sort of game he wanted to play. I think in the second game, he's going to have to try to find a way to get control a little bit more. We saw everything but the rain mode, neither the Pelipper nor the Palafin making an appearance there, nor the Dondozo either on Alex's side of the field. Perhaps watching that game one and from the crowd, out alongside Tatsugiri.
Yeah, I was going to say, there was the rainstorm
Animando la nada.
The trainers did not get the
Madre
messages.
mía.
The rain was not brought in game 1. So I think Raghav had some great moments, especially with Arcanine landing the Intimidate onto Qianpao. But is there, with your back against the wall, the finals of an NAIC, Palafin's kind of the core member of the team. It'd be kind of odd to not bring it to the finals.
Yeah, I do think it's really tough to bring, though, right? One of the weaknesses of Palafin is that, it does start out in that zero form, and in order to get into the hero form, you've got to switch in and out. Against like more defensive teams, like the 4 Pokemon that Raghav brought to that first game, it's not so bad, right? You might have to endure some status effects, take a little damage, but it's easier to position against that sort of thing. I think with the Pokemon that Alex brought, he kind of applied so much pressure that it would have been very tough to succeed with that sort of strategy, right? Like he's threatening so much damage every turn that if Palafin has to switch out, you just lose a Pokemon in order to get that transformation.
¿Es Bo 3? Creo que sí.
I think that one of the things that would help with Palafin, since it has access to Jut Punch, you can have those priority boosted attacks, and because Qianpao and Dragapult, both incredibly fast Pokemon, one of the tough spots for Raghav in that game was that all of his Pokemon were taking a lot of damage first before they could get the attack, where something with priority...
A ver, imagino que al ganador habrán pregrabado una entrevista, digo yo. Bueno, chavales, volvemos a salir. Volvemos a salir.
So Alex going a little bit slower this game, perhaps, but
I think
some of the great thing about his team composition is he's threatening the fake out with the Iron Hands, but Qianpao doesn't have to start the turn on the field in order to help out with that sort of ruin. So Raghav has to cover for both options, right? Well, maybe the Dragapult is going to Terastallize and get help from Qianpao, or maybe Alex will play it more slowly. I think it's a really powerful lead because he has so many diverse options here.
It's almost like when you have a Weather Setter not start on turn 1, and then you bring them in Pelipper, Torkoal, or whatever to help the Weather user there.
¿El trofeo se lo mandan por Amazon o qué? Se lo mandan por barco. Oh, Pokéshammer. Y Raghav mala Oscar Broquita.
Instead of, especially with Arcanine being a bigger threat, maybe Alex doesn't go for the double target into the Amoonguss slot.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky spot too, because even like a fake out, get some easy chip damage, and then maybe you go for the big move on next turn. There's just not like a whole lot of damage being threatened from Raghav's side of the field right now.
Iron Hands switching into that Arcanine slot, so wants to try to keep Arcanine safe for later and to provide Intimidates later when that Qianpao comes back on to the field. Of course, Alex terastallizing the Choice Band Dragapult just like in game 1. Outputting massive amounts of damage on Alex's end.
Fake out
into the Amoonguss is going to stop
Amoonguss y Phantom Force.
This is a 2
No tira Terablast, tira Phantom.
Somewhat of an invulnerable state. You can't target that slot, and you can't protect in front of it because Phantom Force breaks through and damages anyway.
Yeah, perhaps expecting a protect from the other side of the field, and playing safe there too, right? Doesn't have to worry about anything Arcanine could have done with the Phantom Force, but he's a switch. Is that Qianpao coming in?
So Phantom Force already stronger than Terablast. It's going to be even stronger thanks to Qianpao coming on the field, activating that.
Baja la defensa de los rivales con el este y mete el Phantom. ¡Qué barbaridad, Poké-Alex! ¡Qué barbaridad de nivel, Poké-Alex! ¡Qué barbaridad! Se ha cargado la Amoonguss por meter al Qianpao. Y el boss switch te lo aguanta 100%. ¡Madre mía!
We still have the Dragapult standing there at full health. Does Raghav have any answer to this Dragapult?
Well, we see
meterá el intimidador de Arcanine.
Arcanine are the last 3 remaining on Raghav's team, so he did not bring the rain mode yet. Again, not feeling comfortable with it in this matchup against Alex's team. Arcanine fortunately will get an Intimidate to stick onto the Qianpao attack by 1 stage, but thanks to that wonderful clear body ability, it feels like so many Intimidators get just automatically countered by it.
I think important here is what we don't see. Fluttermane, if it had the booster energy, it could be quicker than Dragapult, but it doesn't. It's the Choice Specs version, which means Dragapult is quicker than it. And we've already seen how poorly this Arcanine can do against a big attack for the Dragapult. Certainly Fluttermane's not going to do any better with those much lower defensive stats.
Yeah, because the one benefit is
va a tirar Moonblast al Qianpao y Flare Blitz al Qianpao Focus.
You know it has to click the Phantom Force, so you can at least get 1 turn of reprieve. You know that there is not a damage coming out from the Dragapult on this turn. It will be the following turn you got to be really scared of.
Yeah, I know. Is there any answer, right? Or what is he going to do? Or I think, even if you try to focus down this Chen Pao,
retira Chen Pao
and then bring it back in next turn once Dragon Bolt acts.
Yeah, once it
mete Iron Hands. Se lo van a follar. Se lo van a follar, la verdad.
Phantom Force going first as Dragon Bolt is the fastest Pokemon on the field. Fluttermane with the Moonblast on
Se lo
switching,
follan.
that is super effective, even with the Choice Band, not enough for a one-hit knockout, but the Flare Blitz double target does take down Iron
Muy bien
Hands.
leído aquí.
And so good punish there. See, Ragav pick up that knockout. It is kind of a predictable play, right? Where in Alex's end, you do want to preserve that sort of ruin for later, but there's still the Dragon Bolt there, right? You can't see it, but I promise it's still hiding on the field, and whatever slot that comes down in is probably going to be a knockout. Ragav can maybe try to catch it with an Iron Hand switch in and hope to survive it that way, but now there's this Fluttermane here, right? So even if he doesn't go for the Chen Pao move, there's two Ghost-type Pokemon now on the other side of the field that just can't be ignored. Both of them are threatening so much potential damage. We've also seen during Swiss that Fluttermane has the option of just using the substitute if it wants to, and perhaps are taking advantage of how much pressure that Alex is putting out with the Dragon Bolt and getting a free turn to protect itself.
Ragav essentially has to wonder which Pokemon is going to take this damage, right?
Sustituto.
Phantom Force is going to come through at some point into either of these two slots. Do you switch?
Ojito, el Phantom lo mata. Lo destroza. Y ahora le has pegado a uno, por otro lo recibe el sustituto. Will-O-Wisp. Lo quema.
Will-O-Wisp, though, does land onto Dragon Bolt, so that will mitigate some of its damage, but by you burning it, that gave Fluttermane a sub for free.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be tricky too, right? Where now at least 2 attacks are going to have to go in that slot. I think probably 3 with these Pokemon. And
aún así está muy bien posicionado,
the damage is pretty significant. There's no way to switch anymore, so he's
3 contra 2, ojito,
And there's still that Chen Pao in the back, right? Where it's not having a super great type matchup with either of these Pokemon, but it could potentially come in later, help increase the Dragon Bolt's damage, or just fire off a little bit more damage and wear out these Pokemon. Chen Pao, Fluttermane, and Dragon Bolt are all quicker than both of Ragav's remaining Pokemon, so he's going to have to trade very carefully here. Alex is very close to being an international champion and finally getting that first tournament win since 2016.
Yeah, a very long time for Alex, but his time might be coming shortly. Fluttermane will protect on Alex's end, going to keep that substitute intact.
Se protege y Phantom. Si es Bo 3, a la que gane este combate gana Pokéalex.
Yeah, not really anything Ragav can do about that, right? Alex has a great pin there where there's no reason
De esta
for
manera
him
veis lo que
to
va a hacer.
attack with the Fluttermane. It's kind of a free move where Dragon Bolt either has to use Phantom Force or switch, right? So why not just use the Protect, avoid taking any damage, and now the 2-turn effect
Lo tiene muy de cara,
kind of has no drawback for Alex because there was nothing that Ragav could do to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and Ragav is in just such a precarious position right now with these 2 slower Pokemon. Arcanine's traditionally not too slow, but when you're facing a Fluttermane and Chen Pao and Dragon Bolt, even a Burn Dragon Bolt, it's still so fast.
And we haven't seen Ragav use that terrestrialization, but now he kind of has to, right? Where he's facing down this Fluttermane. He probably needs Iron Hands to do some significant damage in order to have any realistic chance of winning this game. So going to be forced to use the terrestrialization, even with the Ice-type Pokemon in the back.
And the Iron Hands will terrestrialize into a Grass type yet again. Will the fate change this time around for it? Because last time it was knocked out, so in game 2,
para el Arcanine.
more impactful. Shadow Ball
Qué
is not
poquito
doing
pega.
too much damage into the Arcanine. Actually takes that pretty well. But the Burn Phantom Force, not enough.
No mata. No es suficiente. Pero con el recoil se mata. ¿Se mata? No lo sé porque está tan mal hecho el puto Pokémon Escarlata que no te pone la vida que tiene. ¡Ay! No es suficiente para matarlo. No se ha muerto del recoil.
Arcanine is surviving with 2, staying a factor on the field, and Ragav's able to bring this down to 2-2.
Yeah, now you have Dragon Bolt, who is burned. That crucial Will-O-Wisp from the prior turns is going to help him here as Chen Pao has to come in on Alex's end. Sword of Ruin doesn't really matter against 1 HP, right? You can have as many lower defense stats as you want. Any type of attack will take it out. So it really essentially is Iron Hands versus the world right now.
Yeah, but this is still a pretty good spot for this Chen Pao,
A un PS se ha quedado.
It's got a super effective option.
A un PS se ha quedado.
Knocked out by anything, and the Focus Sash might be broken, but unless there's some sneaky way for Ragav to pick up a knockout here, here. It's looking pretty close to a pin, and
bien protegido el Chen Pao.
Just protecting, allowing
the
Phantom Force to happen safely, avoiding taking any unnecessary damage.
That's a great point that Alex is not taking any risks. He understands his win condition. There's no reason to do that, but the Drain Punch is not going to matter into the Protect. Flare Blitz went into the Phantom Force as well.
Yeah, speaking of the Flare Blitz, right, that's one other thing to keep in mind here, that if the Arcanine wants to damage the Ghost-Type Dragapult, it does have extreme speed and could use that. But if it uses Flare Blitz instead, it will knock itself out and avoid Alex needing that one extra action.
There is the Iron Hands, pretty much at 50% HP.
Lo tiene que matar.
Follow up and knock it out. Sort of ruin.
La final la gana Pokealex. La final la gana Pokealex.
Will knock itself out
sí,
anyway.
Señor, GG's.
Attacks. Alex has wrapped this up. Flare Blitz into the Dragapult. Takes it down for the sport. It was a 1-0 victory in this last game, but a victory nonetheless. Alex Gomez Berna with a fantastic weekend in Columbus. The number 8
bueno, el recoil. Digo, tiene velocidad extrema el recoil. Me cago.
Alex is the VGC 2023 North American International Champion in the Masters Division. Congratulations.
Just an incredible performance, right?
Qué puto grande.
Just a fantastically played set. I just never really felt like Ragav really got in that one, right? Where we saw the diversity of strategies that Alex has available to him. Earlier in the Swiss rounds, there was so much of a Tinglu, so much of a Dondozo, but he recognized in this matchup that he should play it faster. We saw those offensive Pokemon doing so much damage. The Chen Pao, even though it very rarely actually attacked, the power of that Sword of Rune was just so devastating there. And yeah, I really like that you said he's kind of using it the way we normally see Pokemon with abilities that change the weather used, where you know, its presence on the field.
Qué buenísima, chavales.
In and out, making sure that it was always available when it mattered, and even though it wasn't doing a whole lot of attacking on its own, you know, changing those 2-hit knockouts into 1-hit knockouts so the Dragapult didn't have to take any damage. You know, it picked up 2 knockouts before it was knocked out in that first game. In the last game, you know, it kind of picked up a knockout in its way down. And
entiendo que habrán grabado una entrevista o algo, ¿no?
That damage is devastating.
Quiero pensar.
I think just a really great team selection and team building from Alex as well, right? You know, we barely saw Dragapult all year, and I was very clearly the MVP of the finals.
Yeah, it's so funny that Dragapult's been outshined by so many other dragon types, right? Like the Dragonite, Excalibur, Garchomp, Roaring Moon, whatever, throughout the entirety of the season in VGC. But remember, the first Regulation C tournament was won by Justin Tang with Chen Pao and Choice Band Dragapult. And here we are ending the final Regulation C tournament with the same strategy, Chen Pao and Choice Band Dragapult.
Yeah, I guess I know there's a whole thing about, you know, looking back to history. I guess more traders maybe should have considered the effects of the tournaments early in the format. I also kind of just really like it. You know, we've seen so much Intimidate always, and I think it's a pretty clever way to get around that. You have one Pokemon with clear.
Bueno, que sí, Callero, ya quiero ver si sale Pokéalex en una entrevista grabada.
No way to mitigate it at all, really. I guess unless you can use the less seen Treasure of Rune to try to reduce those attack stats. I just think it's a good way to get around it, right? Where he mastered the comp. He had a lot of really good options there, and he just always seemed to be a step ahead.
Yeah, so let's check out the replays from our Masters finals that we just watched. Amoonguss never stood a chance, honestly, in this matchup. Both the games getting knocked out from the double target, and Alex keeping his composure, knowing that these two strong ghost types, on his end in Fluttermane and Dragapult would be helpful enough. But oh, that was so close on Arcanine. Would have been really interesting if it did knock itself out from the Flare Blitz. But regardless, Alex just had complete control of the match from beginning to end.
Es que pegó una paliza,
Le ha pegado una paliza, Normally it feels like the combination of Arcanine.
Le ha pegado una paliza,
Amoonguss can kind of stall it out against any popular team in the format, but there was just nothing they could do here. I don't know if we've ever seen best of 3, especially this late in a tournament, where Amoonguss was so irrelevant, but it just could never get going, even though it was only taking neutral damage.
Yeah, for sure. The Amoonguss, he was essentially pinned every single turn, right? What do I do? This Choice Band Dragapult is doing so much damage. I essentially have to put something in that slot every turn to get knocked out. And even after the burn, it was still outputting just so much pressure. And you wouldn't think something like Solar Beam without the sun, or a regular move that takes 2 turns to attack. Usually that's not too common in VGC because it's very predictable and your opponent can punish it. But when you become invulnerable in the Phantom Force state, and you cannot protect in front of it because it will hit from behind. It's just so powerful.
Yeah, I really thought the pairing of the Dragapult and the Fluttermane was pretty cool too, where we've seen a lot of trainers try the substitute on Fluttermane thing, and we've seen a wide variety of results on stream, right? Sometimes it looks really good, sometimes it just looks terrible, and I think the two of those Pokemon together was really neat, where you really want to focus on the Dragapult when it's available in those turns where it's not using Phantom Force, right? Because it is so devastating, which does create room for those Fluttermane, and you can't really ignore that either, right? Where was as a substitute up, even though it doesn't feel like the focus of the team, there's a reason why it's on 70% of the teams in this tournament, right? It does so much damage, and having the two of them together, you kind of just wind up in a situation where there's no way to win.
Yeah, and obviously Alex deserves congratulations, but really Spain congratulations as well. It's just the first country to take down an international championship in VGC this season. North America had won the 2 prior ICs, and I think that's a great story to develop into the World Championships this summer, is that this race, this competition is not any one country favorite, it is wide open.
Yeah, I'll be really excited to see how Alex does at the World Championships. It seems like it's been his time for so long, and just never seems to quite work out for him. He's always been one of those trainers that we thought of among the best in the world, and I think it's really great. He's got this big win. He's going to go into Worlds with a ton of momentum, and I think he's going to be one of the most difficult players to defeat in Yokohama.
Yeah, and I think let's take a quick recap of the bracket and seeing Alex Gomez-Berna's run, beating Ragab in the finals. But his fellow countryman Victor
2-0, 2-0, 2-0, Es que no ha perdido ni una. Es que no ha perdido ni una. Qué barbaridad. Qué barbaridad Pokéalex, de verdad. Qué auténtica barbaridad.
Alex, once again, winning 2-0, didn't lose a single game in the entire top cut. Just a dominant victory. So impressive by him.
Yeah, honestly, we saw best of threes go to game 3 in juniors and seniors, but sometimes a dominant 2-0 can be just as satisfying to watch.
Yeah, I mean, as much as there was a little less doubt, perhaps, the result of this one, you really see how well he solved this format.
Ese ruido es que saca una captura de pantalla. Esta imagen.
Alex played so wonderfully, a very deserving champion, and I think a tournament a lot of players can learn a lot from as they're approaching future formats.
And one of the funny things on Alex's team, even though Dondozo didn't make an appearance in the finals, Dondozo can still say
Dondozo que no ha salido en las finales.
Dondozo finally winning a massive tournament on North American soil right at the end without its buddy.
Ha ganado con Dondozo y sin usarlo. Todo su polla ahí.
I think it's kind of rough, right? But I think you got to be happy for your friends, right?
Ha ganado con Dondozo sin sacarlo.
Right? We all wish we could win every tournament, and you can't. But sometimes you just got to be happy for your friends who come out on top. I know both of those competitors are great friends, and I'm sure that they're both very proud of each other for making it to this point in the tournament.
Yeah, for sure. So congratulations to Alex Gomez-Berna, our North American International Champion, and we are ready for our interview with the champion.
Hi there, I am with our winner, Alex. Felicitaciones. Congratulations. Now, let's talk first about that match. Tell us about Dragapult. How should people use them? How did you use them? Give us the overview.
I use
¿Cómo usas a Dragapult?
Chien-Pao. It was really good. People wasn't expecting Chien-Pao Dragapult coming up into this tournament.
La gente no se esperaba un Chien-Pao con Dragapult.
I think I surprised a lot of players with the power which has
y he sorprendido a muchos enemigos a muchos rivales con el poder que tienen juntos, ¿no? Uno le baja la defensa a los rivales y el otro pega increíble.
Tell us about your team choices overall.
Well, I use Dragapult, Chien-Pao, Dondozo, Tinglu. My strategy basically was made with Dondozo, Tinglu.
Dondozo, Tinglu era su estrategia principal y no la usó en la final.
With Tinglu and Dondozo, so I wanted to trap my opponents. And then with Chien-Pao Dragapult or Chien-Pao
atrapaba a los oponentes con bucle arena del Tinglu.
Damage to KO my opponent's Pokémon. So.
How did your preparation go? Is this what you expected when you were preparing?
¿Esperaba llegar hasta aquí cuando estabas preparándote?
Amazing. I want to thank my friends Chuso and Guillermo because
¡grande! Dice que quiere darles las gracias a Chuso y a Guillermo, que es Casti.
So yeah, I'm proud of my friends and myself.
Orgulloso de sus amigos y del mismo. ¡Grande! ¡Qué bueno, qué buena, qué buena, qué buena, qué buena! ¡Grande, mis españoles!
Yes.
And you've been to every world since then. Now you're going to be going back. How does that feel?
Feels amazing. I wanted to retire from the game and
es verdad, es que se iba a retirar, tío.
To win this tournament.
Y ganar este torneo.
2016. So I feel amazing. Means the world to me to be back. So
y se siente como significa todo volver y ganar.
Maybe win.
So it sounds like this has solidly changed
Y ojalá
your
ganar en
mind. You're not
Yokohama.
quitting.
Claro
We're
que
gonna see
sí.
more of you.
Yeah, you guys are definitely gonna see more of me. I'm super happy with the
Y veréis más de mí, sí señor.
Right now.
Este men no se retira en la vida.
The new mechanic, crystallization. I love the open team sheet as well. I think it helps every single
Y que adora la parte de que sea open team, es decir, que puedas saber lo que tiene el rival y el rival lo que tienes tú.
Now,
Yo también, me parece genial.
Today, anyone there that you want to say hello to, thank you to, or anyone here even?
Yeah, I want to thank my parents. Gracias papá y mamá. I want to thank as well my girlfriend Vanessa. Muchas gracias por todo. And yeah, all my fans, thank you so much. I love you guys.
Thank you. We will see you in Japan. Travel safe. And for now, back to you, casters.
¡Vamos!
What a day. What a finals here in Columbus at the North American
Sí,
International
señor.
Championship. Honestly, today, just in general, our entire championship Sunday.
Sí, señor, chavales.